The morning light filtered through our kitchen's floor-to-ceiling windows as I watched my wife Celeste adjust her skirt in the hallway mirror. The hemline had crept up another inch since last week, a sure sign she was meeting someone who wasn't me. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. "Another late client dinner?" I asked, stirring my coffee with deliberate slowness. "You know how it is, Graham." She didn't even look at me. "Marketing never sleeps." "Right. And I'm the Easter Bunny." 3 months ago, I'd been Graham Pierce, senior investment banker at Morrison & Associates. Now, I was Graham Pierce, unemployed husband with a severance package and too much time to notice things. Like how Celeste's late meetings coincided perfectly with her new gym membership, or how she'd started using words like synergy and optimization in casual conversation, corporate speak she'd picked up from someone. "I'll probably be very late," she said, grabbing her purse. "Don't wait up." The door clicked shut with the finality of a coffin lid. I sat in our pristine kitchen, surrounded by granite countertops and stainless steel appliances that screamed success, and felt like a ghost haunting his own life. My phone buzzed at 11:47 p.m. The text message appeared on my screen like a digital slap. "I can't do this anymore, Graham. I can't be with someone who doesn't have their life together. You're unemployed, and frankly, I need more than what you can offer right now. I'm staying at Bryce's tonight. We can talk about dividing things up later. Sorry it had to end this way, but I need to think about my future." See. I read it 3 times before the word sank in. Bryce. That explained the corporate speak. My hands were remarkably steady as I opened her laptop. She'd never bothered changing the password from our anniversary date. Her email told the whole story in painful detail, messages stretching back 4 months, long before my layoff, photos from hotel rooms I'd never seen, video clips that made my stomach turn. The worst part wasn't the betrayal itself, it was reading how she described me to him. "Graham's lost his edge. He just sits around the house feeling sorry for himself. You make me feel alive again." I'd been married to this woman for 8 years. We'd bought this house together, planned a future, talked about kids. And she'd reduced me to a paragraph of complaints in an email to her boy toy. But here's what Celeste didn't know about her unemployed loser husband. I'd already landed 3 interviews, and Morrison's severance package was more generous than she realized. Much more generous. I closed the laptop and poured myself a whiskey. Tomorrow, I'd start planning my comeback. Tonight, I'd mourn the end of my marriage and the birth of something much more interesting. Revenge is a dish best served with a side of public humiliation. "You look like hell," Riley Martinez said, sliding into the booth across from me at Murphy's Tavern. My former colleague had the decency to buy the first round after I'd filled him in on the previous night's festivities. "Feel worse than I look." I raised my beer. "Here's to new beginnings and old endings." "Bryce Dalton, right? I know that guy." Riley's expression darkened. "He's a VP at Pinnacle Marketing. Real piece of work. Drives a white Tesla, works out twice a day, posts motivational quotes on LinkedIn." Sounds like a catch. "He's also leveraging company perks for personal gain. Nothing criminal, but the kind of thing that gets you fired if it comes to light." Riley leaned forward. "Word is he's been using the company's entertainment budget for his own dates." Interesting. I filed that information away for later use. The next morning, I put on my best suit and drove to my interview at Blackstone Financial. The meeting went better than expected. They offered me a position with a 20% salary increase on the spot. I accepted immediately, but asked them to keep the news quiet for a few weeks. I had some personal matters to resolve first. Step 1 of the Graham Pierce comeback tour was complete. Step 2 involved a trip to the Porsche dealership. "The 911 Carrera is an excellent choice, Mr. Pierce," the salesman said as I signed the paperwork. "Will you be trading in your current vehicle?" No, I'll keep the BMW. This is my celebration car. I drove the Porsche home and parked it in the driveway where Celeste would see it when she came to collect her things. Then I called a realtor about renting a downtown loft. If I was going to be a bachelor again, I might as well do it in style. My phone rang as I was researching furniture. Graham? Celeste's voice was tentative. We need to talk. Do we? I thought your text was pretty clear. I was emotional. I said things I didn't mean. Which part didn't you mean? The unemployed part or the loser part? Silence stretched between us like a taut wire. I saw the Porsche, she finally said. Sharp eye. It's the celebration model. Celebrating what? My new job at Blackstone Financial, senior vice president. Funny how quickly things can turn around when you stop making excuses. More silence. I could practically hear her recalculating. Maybe we should meet for coffee, she said. Talk about things properly. I don't think so, Celeste. You made your choice. Live with it. I hung up and immediately called my buddy Jake, who owned a moving company. I need everything moved out of 47 Maple Street by Friday, I told him. Just my stuff. Leave everything else exactly where it is. Divorce? Something like that. By Thursday, I was settled into a sleek downtown loft with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the harbor. The rent was astronomical, but I could afford it now. More importantly, it was the kind of place that made a statement. Friday evening, I was at the Beacon Hill Athletic Club, the same gym where Bryce Dalton apparently spent half his life. I'd joined that morning, paying the premium membership fee without blinking. I spotted him immediately. 6'2", artificially tan, wearing a tank top that showed off his gym-sculpted physique. He was curling dumbbells in front of the mirror, admiring his own reflection. I set up at the bench press nearby and started my workout. It didn't take long for him to notice me. Celeste had probably shown him photos. You're Graham, right? He approached with the confidence of a man who'd never been told no. I'm Bryce. I know who you are. Look, man, I hope there's no hard feelings. These things happen, you know? Sometimes people just grow apart. I sat up on the bench and looked at him directly. Grow apart? Is that what you call it? Celeste and we just connected. It wasn't planned. 4 months ago, according to the emails. That's some connection. His smile faltered slightly. She told you about us? She didn't need to. You should be more careful about company email servers, Bryce, especially when you're using them to coordinate personal meetings during work hours. The color drained from his face. What are you talking about? I'm talking about a pattern of behavior that might interest your HR department, or maybe the IRS, considering how you've been categorizing those hotel expenses. I stood up and gathered my towel. Enjoy your workout, Bryce, and maybe ease up on the supplements. Your skin's looking a little yellow around the edges. I walked away, leaving him standing there with his mouth open. The first shot had been fired. Celeste's best friend, Sasha Kim, had always been the weak link in their social circle. She was a gossip addict who collected secrets like baseball cards and traded them for social currency. I'd always found her exhausting, but now she was exactly what I needed. I ran into her, accidentally, at Whole Foods on Saturday morning. Graham, oh my God, I'm so sorry about everything. She clutched her organic kale like a shield. I had no idea Celeste was going to... I tried to talk to her, but she wouldn't listen. It's fine, Sasha. These things happen. But the way she did it, with that text message, I told her it was awful. Interesting. So Sasha knew about the text. She's been different lately, Sasha continued, unable to help herself. Ever since she started seeing that Bryce guy, he's got her thinking she's too good for, well, you know. Too good for unemployed losers? Sasha's face went red. She said that? Oh, Graham, I'm so sorry. That's not who you are at all. Actually, it's funny she said that, considering I just accepted a senior VP position at Blackstone Financial. Sasha's eyes widened. You did? When? This week. Funny how things work out. I could see her mental wheels turning. This was grade A gossip material. I won't say anything, she said quickly. Oh, you should definitely tell people. I'm not keeping it secret. I paused for effect. I'm also not keeping secret what I found on Celeste's laptop. Amazing what people leave lying around when they think their husband is too depressed to notice anything. What kind of things? I leaned closer, lowering my voice conspiratorially. Let's just say Bryce has some interesting hobbies and some creative approaches to expense reporting. Sasha was practically vibrating with excitement. Really? Really, but I'm sure you won't mention that to anyone. Of course not, she lied smoothly. I knew she'd be on the phone before she reached her car. Sunday morning, my phone rang. Celeste. What did you say to Sasha? She demanded. Good morning to you too. I said hello and goodbye. Why? She's asking weird questions about Bryce. About his job and his expenses. Maybe she's just curious about your new boyfriend. Friends do that. Graham, if you're spreading rumors. I don't need to spread rumors, Celeste. The truth is much more interesting. What's that supposed to mean? It means you picked a winner. Congratulations. I hung up and made myself breakfast. Phase 2 was progressing nicely. Monday morning, I started my new job at Blackstone Financial. The office was everything Morrison and Associates wasn't: modern, dynamic, and hungry for success. My new colleagues welcomed me warmly, and my boss, Patricia Webb, made it clear that she had big plans for me. We've been watching your work for years, Graham, she said during our first meeting. Morrison's loss is definitely our gain. I appreciate the opportunity, Patricia. Call me Pat, and I hope you're ready to hit the ground running. We've got the Henderson Industries account coming up for renewal, and I want you to lead the pitch. Henderson Industries, Morrison and Associates' biggest client. The irony was delicious. That evening I went to the Beacon Hill Country Club for dinner. I'd been a member for 3 years, but rarely used it when I was married. Celeste had always found it stuffy. Now I understood why. It was full of successful people who might make her feel inadequate. I was enjoying an excellent salmon when I spotted a familiar white Tesla in the parking lot. Through the windows, I could see Bryce at the bar, apparently waiting for someone. Celeste arrived 20 minutes later, looking stunning in a red dress I'd bought her for our anniversary last year. They kissed at the bar, and I felt a familiar stab of pain. But pain was just another form of fuel now. I finished my dinner, paid the check, and walked out to the parking lot. The Tesla was parked in a handicapped spot. Typical. I took a photo with my phone and sent it to the club's management with a note about parking violations. Then I got in my Porsche and drove home to my beautiful loft, where I poured myself a whiskey and planned my next move. The best revenge isn't getting mad. It's getting even, publicly, and with interest. Tuesday brought the first crack in Bryce's perfect facade. I was having lunch at a downtown restaurant when Riley called. Your boy Bryce just got called into HR, he said, without preamble. Really? What for? Someone sent an anonymous tip about his expense reports. Turns out he's been billing personal dinners as client entertainment for months. How unfortunate. There's more. Apparently, he's been using the company's premium gym membership for personal training sessions with his girlfriend. I nearly choked on my sandwich. His girlfriend? Yeah, some marketing executive named Celeste Warner. Ring any bells? The irony was perfect. Celeste had been benefiting from Bryce's corporate theft without even knowing it. Every romantic dinner, every couple's workout session, every weekend getaway had been subsidized by his company's entertainment budget. What happens now? I asked. Internal investigation. Could take weeks, but if they find what I think they'll find, both of them are toast. Couldn't happen to a nicer couple. That evening, I decided to visit my old neighborhood. I drove slowly past the house I'd shared with Celeste, noting that she'd already changed the locks and installed a security system. The BMW was gone from the garage, probably sold to help cover the mortgage she now had to pay alone. I parked across the street and called my neighbor, Mr. Finn. He was a retired cop with a keen eye for detail and a love of gossip that rivaled Sasha's. "Graham, how are you holding up, son?" "Better than expected, Mr. Finn. How's the neighborhood?" "Quiet. Well, except for all the shouting from your old place last night." "Shouting?" "Your wife and that boyfriend of hers seemed like they were having some kind of argument. Something about work and money. None of my business, of course." "Of course. Though I did notice his fancy car got towed from the handicapped spot at the country club yesterday. Shame when people don't follow the rules." I smiled. Yes, it really is. Wednesday morning brought another call from Celeste. "Graham, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest." "I'm always honest, Celeste. It's one of my many flaws." "Did you report Bryce to his HR department?" "Why would I do that?" "Because someone did, and now he's under investigation for expense fraud. Maybe someone at his company noticed the irregularities. These things happen when you're not careful." "This is serious, Graham. He could lose his job." "That would be terrible. Unemployment is such a difficult thing to deal with. Really makes you question your self-worth." The silence stretched between us. "You're enjoying this?" she said finally. "I'm enjoying my new life, yes. My new job, my new apartment, my new freedom. It's amazing how quickly things can improve when you're not being held back by someone who doesn't believe in you." "I made a mistake." "You made a choice. Own it." I hung up and got back to work on the Henderson Industries presentation. Pat had been right about hitting the ground running. I was already ahead of schedule, and the client was impressed with my preliminary proposals. Thursday evening, I was at the gym when Bryce appeared beside my treadmill. He looked haggard, his usual cockiness replaced by something approaching desperation. "We need to talk," he said. I slowed my pace but didn't stop running. "I'm listening." "I know you're behind this. The HR investigation, the parking tickets, all of it." "That's a serious accusation. Do you have any proof?" "I don't need proof, I know." "Knowing and proving are two different things, Bryce. But let's say, hypothetically, that someone wanted to cause problems for you. Why do you think they'd be able to find so much material to work with?" His jaw tightened. "Because I made some mistakes." "Mistakes? Is that what you call stealing from your company to impress my wife?" "I never stole anything." "No? What do you call billing personal expenses as business entertainment? What do you call using company resources for personal training sessions? How did you—" He stopped himself. "How did I know?" "Because you're sloppy, Bryce. You're so used to having everything handed to you that you never learn to cover your tracks." I stepped off the treadmill and faced him directly. "Here's the thing about consequences," I said quietly. "They don't care about your intentions. They don't care about your feelings. They just care about your actions. And your actions have been pretty questionable lately. If you think this will get Celeste back, I don't want Celeste back. She made her choice when she decided I wasn't good enough for her. Now she gets to live with the consequences of that choice." I grabbed my towel and headed for the locker room, leaving him standing there looking lost and confused. Friday brought the news I'd been waiting for. Riley called just after lunch. "It's official. Bryce Dalton has been terminated for cause: expense fraud, misuse of company resources, violation of ethics policies. The whole 9 yards. What about Celeste?" "She's been suspended pending investigation. Turns out she knew about the gym membership and the dinners. HR considers her complicit." "Perfect." I leaned back in my office chair and smiled. "Thanks for the update, Riley." "You know, Graham, I've got to admire your style. Most guys would have just keyed his car or punched him in the face. Violence is the refuge of the incompetent. I prefer a more systematic approach." "Well, your system is working. Word is they're both scrambling to find new jobs, and with termination for cause on their records, it's not going to be easy." After I hung up, I sat in my office looking out at the Boston skyline. The Henderson Industries presentation was complete. My new life was taking shape, and my enemies were facing the consequences of their choices. But I wasn't done yet. Not even close. Saturday night, I was having dinner at Soralina when I saw them. Celeste and Bryce huddled at a corner table, their body language screaming stress and desperation. She was gesticulating angrily while he sat slumped in his chair, looking like a man who'd just watched his life implode. I finished my osso buco and paid the check, then walked over to their table. "Fancy meeting you here," I said pleasantly. Celeste looked up, her face flushed with anger and wine. "Graham, what are you doing here?" "Having dinner. It's a restaurant, Celeste. People do that here." "You're following us." "Paranoid much? I've been coming here for years. You're the ones who are new to the neighborhood." Bryce finally looked up. His face was pale and drawn, nothing like the confident gym rat I'd first encountered. "This is all your fault," he said quietly. "My fault? How do you figure that?" "The anonymous tips, the investigation. You destroyed my career." I pulled out an empty chair and sat down uninvited. "Let me tell you something about careers, Bryce. I built mine over 15 years of honest work, 60-hour weeks, missed vacations, constant stress. And when the market turned bad, I got laid off anyway. That's life." "That's different." "Is it? Because from where I sit, you destroyed your own career. I didn't make you steal from your company. I didn't make you lie on expense reports. I didn't make you use corporate resources for personal gain. You don't understand? I understand perfectly. You're an entitled little boy who thought the rules didn't apply to him, and now you're facing consequences for the first time in your privileged life." Celeste leaned forward, her voice low and venomous. "You're pathetic, Graham. This whole revenge fantasy of yours is just sad." "Revenge? This isn't revenge, Celeste. This is justice. There's a difference." "Justice? For what?" "For 8 years of marriage that you threw away for a guy who can't even cheat honestly. For making me feel like a failure when you were the one sleeping around. For that text message calling me an unemployed loser when you knew I was already interviewing for new positions. I was emotional. You were cruel. There's a difference." I stood up and straightened my jacket. "Enjoy your dinner, kids. And Bryce, next time you want to steal from your employer to impress a woman, maybe make sure she's worth it first." I walked away, leaving them sitting there in stunned silence. Sunday morning brought an unexpected visitor. I was reading the paper in my loft when the doorman called up. "Mr. Pierce, there's a Sasha Kim here to see you." "Send her up." Sasha appeared at my door looking uncharacteristically serious. "We need to talk," she said. "Come in. Coffee?" "Please." I poured 2 cups and joined her on the couch. "Celeste is falling apart," she said without preamble. "That's unfortunate." "She lost her job, Graham. They fired her yesterday." I heard she was suspended. The suspension became termination. They found emails between her and Bryce planning how to maximize his expense account benefits. She's complicit in the fraud. I sipped my coffee and said nothing. "She's broke," Sasha continued. "The mortgage on the house, the car payments, her credit cards. Without her job, she can't afford any of it. She should have thought of that before she decided I wasn't good enough for her. She made a mistake. She made a choice. A calculated, deliberate choice to betray our marriage for a guy with a Tesla and a gym membership. She wants to apologize." "Too late for apologies, Sasha. She's talking about hurting herself." That got my attention. I set down my coffee cup and looked at her directly. "Hurting herself how?" "I don't know. She's drinking too much, not eating. Yesterday she said something about how everyone would be better off without her." I felt a flicker of the old concern, the protective instinct that had defined our marriage for 8 years. Then I remembered the text message, the emails, the months of lies and betrayal. If she's having thoughts of self-harm, she should talk to a professional, I said finally. I'm not her husband anymore. I'm not responsible for her emotional well-being. "Graham." "No, Sasha. I spent 8 years being responsible for Celeste's happiness while she was planning her exit strategy. I'm done. Sasha left looking disappointed, but I didn't care. I had my own life to rebuild. Monday brought the Henderson Industries presentation. Pat and I walked into the conference room at Morrison & Associates, my old firm, to pitch our services to their biggest client. The irony was exquisite. My former boss, David Morrison, sat at the far end of the table looking uncomfortable as I laid out our proposal. It was brilliant work, and everyone in the room knew it. "This is impressive, Mr. Pierce," said Janet Henderson, the company's CEO. "Very impressive." "Thank you, Ms. Henderson. We believe Blackstone Financial can offer Henderson Industries the kind of innovative thinking and personal attention that your account deserves." David Morrison cleared his throat. "Janet, I think we should discuss—" "I've heard enough," she interrupted. "Mr. Pierce, when can we start the transition?" "Immediately, if you'd like." "Excellent. David, thank you for your years of service, but we'll be moving our account to Blackstone Financial effective immediately." I shook hands with Janet Henderson and walked out of the conference room where I'd once been a valued employee, now as the architect of their biggest account loss. Pat was ecstatic. "Graham, that was masterful. You just landed us a $50 million account." "Just doing my job. This calls for a celebration, dinner at the Four Seasons, my treat." "I'd be honored." As we walked to the elevator, I caught sight of David Morrison through the conference room glass. He was staring at me with a mixture of anger and grudging respect. I gave him a small wave and stepped into the elevator. The doors closed on my old life and opened on my new one. The call came on Tuesday evening while I was reviewing contracts in my office. Unknown number, but I answered anyway. "Graham?" Celeste's voice was slurred, thick with alcohol and tears. "What do you want, Celeste?" "I want to talk. Really talk. Not fight, not argue. Just talk. We have nothing to talk about. Please, I'm at Murphy's Tavern, the place where you and Riley used to go. Can you come?" Something in her voice gave me pause. Desperation, yes, but something deeper, something broken. "Are you drunk?" "A little. Maybe more than a little." "Go home, Celeste. Sleep it off." "I don't have a home anymore. The bank foreclosed yesterday. I'm staying at a motel on Route 1. Despite everything, I felt a stab of sympathy. The house we'd bought together, the symbol of our shared dreams, gone. That's not my problem anymore. I know it's not, but please, Graham, 30 minutes. That's all I'm asking." Against my better judgment, I found myself saying, "Fine, 30 minutes." Murphy's Tavern was nearly empty when I arrived. Celeste sat alone in our old booth, a half-empty bottle of wine in front of her. She looked terrible, hollow-eyed, thin, wearing clothes that had seen better days. I slid into the booth across from her. "You look like hell," I said. "Feel worse?" She attempted a smile. "You look good, though. Success suits you." "What do you want, Celeste?" "I want to apologize. Really apologize, not the half-hearted bullshit I tried before." "Okay, apologize." She took a shaky breath. "I was wrong. About everything. About you. About us. About what I wanted. I threw away the best thing in my life for a fantasy." "Go on." "Bryce was never real. He was just shiny, new. He made me feel special, but it was all surface. There was nothing underneath." And I realize now that what we had was real. You loved me, really loved me, and I threw it away because I got scared. Scared of what? Of being ordinary, of having a normal marriage with normal problems. Bryce made me feel like I was special, like I deserved more than just life. I studied her face, looking for signs of manipulation, but saw only genuine regret. "You're right," I said finally. "You did throw away the best thing in your life. Is there any chance we could try again?" "No." The word hung between us like a final verdict. Please, Graham, I know I hurt you, but people make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake, Celeste. Mistakes are accidental. You planned this. You chose him over me, repeatedly, for months. You called me an unemployed loser and walked away without a backward glance. I was wrong. Yes, you were. But being wrong doesn't undo the damage. It doesn't erase the betrayal. It doesn't give me back the months I spent wondering what was wrong with me, why I wasn't good enough for my own wife. Tears were streaming down her face now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know you are, but sorry doesn't fix this. What can I do? How can I make this right? You can't. That's the point. Some things can't be fixed, Celeste. Some bridges once burned can't be rebuilt. So that's it? 8 years of marriage, and you're just going to throw it all away? I'm not throwing anything away. You already did that. I stood up and dropped a 20 on the table. Get some help, Celeste. Talk to someone. Figure out who you are and what you really want. But do it without me. Graham, please. Goodbye, Celeste. I walked out of Murphy's Tavern and didn't look back. 3 months later, I was having lunch at the Beacon Hill Country Club when Sasha approached my table. Graham, can I sit? Sure. She looked better than the last time I'd seen her, less frantic, more composed. I wanted to update you on Celeste, she said. I didn't ask for an update. I know, but I thought you should know. She's doing better. Good for her. She got a job at a small marketing firm in Worcester. It's not much, but it's honest work, and she's been going to therapy. That's nice. She asked me to tell you something. I don't want to hear it. She said to tell you that she understands now, about consequences and choices. She said you were right. Some bridges can't be rebuilt. I nodded but said nothing. She also said to tell you that she hopes you're happy. I am happy. Are you? Really? I considered the question. My new life was everything I'd wanted. Successful career, financial security, freedom from the constant emotional turmoil that had defined my marriage. Yes, I said finally. I really am. Sasha smiled sadly. Good, you deserve to be. She left me alone with my lunch and my thoughts. Through the window, I could see Boston Harbor sparkling in the afternoon sun. My Porsche was parked outside, my loft was waiting for me downtown, and my career was thriving. I had everything I'd ever wanted, and it had only cost me my marriage, my trust in love, and my faith in people. But as I sat there in the country club that had once intimidated my wife, wearing a suit that cost more than her monthly rent, I realized something important. Sometimes the price is worth paying. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's about building a life so good that losing you becomes their greatest punishment. I finished my lunch, paid the check, and walked out into my new life.